Hey, what's up, guys? It's MyGamesGX here, and happy Banlist Day. We finally got Branded Fusion back to 2, and Branded is back better than ever, of course. Branded Fusion to 2 changes a whole lot, so I want to talk about what happens now with Branded Fusion to 2, but also give you guys a deck profile on that. If you guys want to see more of an in-depth discussion on what the changes for Branded Fusion to 2 really means, and then also combos for post-stupid of dimensions, please let me know down below, and if this video gets to 150 likes, we will end up doing that. But let me get this deck profile out the way, guys. This is going to be post-stupid dimensions, post-ban list, guys. So the only thing that we are going to switch out is going to be one card that I'll get out to it, but yeah, guys. So I think that branded Dracotail post-stupid dimensions is the best way to run branded Despia. Of course, branded Dracotail and branded Despia just took first place at 200 plus person regionals over the last weekend, so I think that either build is pretty viable, but I do think the new support in Doom of Dimensions really does push the Dracotail version over because of the combos that are enabled. Alright, so I'm going to start off with the deck list. This is a 50 card deck list, guys. So why am I running 50 cards? Because I want to stay consistent and try to open Branded Fusion as much as possible while also maintaining gas to be able to break boards. So I have the 2 Fallen of Albaz, 2 Cartesia, and then 3 Aluber, of course, and then 1 Quem. So I am only running 1 Grand Guignol in the extra deck, so I'm choosing to only run 1 Quem today. I think the 1 Quem isn't always that necessary, and it's just one of those things to cut down on normal summons. We are only on 2 Albaz too, because we are running multiple Shrouded Dragons, which can count as Albaz in the graveyard, and we don't need to overload ourselves with the normal summons when we're already running Dracotail, which can sometimes require your normal summon. And then next we have, for the rest of the branded cards, 3 Shrouded Dragon, because this is just great consistency. Also, since I'm already running 2 Albaz, I still want to have my options for Albaz in the graveyard, so I still think this is a pretty good card to run, and it's just hyper consistency. And then 1 Mercurier, 1 Tragedy, and then 1 Springen's Kit. I'm still running the kit. A lot of people were asking me in the Banlist live stream if we should be cutting kit now because it's post-ban list. We have 2 Branded Fusion, of course, but I do think that 2 Branded Fusion doesn't exactly change a whole lot here. In terms of just like your build, I think that, the 2 Branded Fusion, of course, helps you go second really well, because now you can just open a Branded Fusion and then, last card in hand, play Branded Fusion, whether you're trying to break a board or just play through hand traps, right? And your opponent won't know you have the Branded Fusion because you hard opened it, and you're going to be doing a lot more. So once again, that's why we're on the smaller build. I think any build below 50 cards is quite good for Branded right now. But the 3 Shrouded and the I still think kit is still good, so that I can recur a Branded Fusion in the grind game. It's just good for the grind game for the most part, but then also it's very important to make your Branded High Spirits live, and I am running 3 High Spirits in this build, so I do think you need to run kit when you're running 3 High Spirits. I was originally only running 1 of this guy, but since I'm only running 2 Albaz, there were some instances where I could like really lose in a grind game because of the 2 Albaz. And this just like really just like fixes that issue, since it counts as Albaz in the graveyard, and with other cards that we are running, it will go really nicely. So we are running 3 Bestial Saronir plus the Lubellion. I was actually running 1 Magnamut as well, but I think Magnamut is quite good, especially into the new format. I think that, the new format, VSK9 is probably going to be dead. Yummy is going to be best deck, especially post-Doom of Dimensions, so with its new support. So it's going to be Yummy and Dracotail, but then also I think you'll see things like Memento, Blue Eyes, Mermal, and a lot of like maybe Fiendsmith and Ryzeal decks come out of the woodwork. I think Malice is mostly dead for the most part. I also think that Pure Mitsurugi is very good. So Bestials will still be pretty good in general, but that's why I'm not maining the Magnamut, because I can't guarantee if it's even going to be live, right? There still will be some Crystron players and stuff like that. Maybe some, pure K9 players, especially with the new support. So I think Saronir just like gives me the best of both worlds, because it gives me a decent spread into Yummy, just being able to open the Saronir when they go field spell, target to revive, I can go Saronir, and then it puts them on better have an extender kind of thing. And then it's also just a great extender in our deck, and it works very well with Branded High Spirits, and can get us to Branded Lost. Same with Lubellion, so it's just a very excellent card to run at 3 at this new format. And then 1 Ido, because we are locking. We are running the Sanctifier, because I do think Sanctifier locking is very free this format. There are barely any Bestials and barely any Droplets in Book of Eclipses. Like, some decks are running them, but not very many. So this card's just mostly free, and since you are running the Dracotail cards, you can every spell, so it just comes down to droplet at that point. So it's a very free way to run, and just like, especially with the new time rules, to make sure you don't get double lost. And it's just good for like cutting off grind games, and it's just a good interruption piece, right, in a grind game through Foolos. Like if you can get this plus Sanctifier plus like another interruption, that's just excellent Foolos line. And then for the Dracotail cards, one Lucius. So this is going to be the new Dracotail Prixel. So this is, you will switch this out with Postuma Dimensions for Dracotail Prixel. Yes, you can still run this card and then like do the Trishula lines, but in my opinion, they aren't very good Postuma Dimensions now that you have the Prixel, because Prixel is a light spellcaster level 4, and it has the same effect as every other Dracotail name, where when it's sent to the graveyard, it is going to give you a set Dracotail Splatter Trap. So that means you can just go Branded Fusion, send the Prixel plus an Albaz, and then make an Albion, and then you can immediately trigger the Prixel to then make, or to set a Rahu Dracotail, so, or like a Ketu. So it's very good in that regard, because now you don't just have to go into Lubellion like you previously had to, because before you had to send Malulu with Lubellion, and that means you have to have 2 discards to bridge into the Dracotail engine with Branded. So now you only need 1 discard, which is pretty solid, all things considered, and that's why I do think this variant does get stronger. So for right now, I'm running the Lucius for like the next 2 days, but this should be a Prixel, and I will be switching it out. And once again, Lucius is only really needed if you do the Trishula lines, and I just think your extra deck is a bit too tight at the moment, especially with Super Poly and stuff like that, that you don't really always need the Trishula lines, and if they end up being a bit win more at the end of the day. So, a lot of my combos this format won't be focusing on the Trish lines for that reason. They're there, but I don't think they're very great. So, yeah, no. And then, so the one Lucius, this is Prixel, one Urgolo. We're still running Urgolo. I think it's very important. One Malulu and then one Phimina for the monsters. So yeah, I didn't want to run more than one Phimina because it's sometimes a brick, and I'm at 50 cards right now, 51 cards, so I don't want to overload that. I think it's really nice to search essentially, and then it's a great end board piece. There's a lot of combos that go through just like Rahu plus Branded Fusion that can end on like Phimina in hand plus Mercurier plus like full locks up with Looping Mirror Jade and Quem and Cartesia with Rinbrum and Mirror. Like, it's just so crazy. This card, and it helps you dodge it. It really helps you dodge Imperm on like a Luber or like Cartesia too, which is really nice. But then also it helps you facilitate your Dracotail combo, so it's really nice to layer your unboard. And then Urgula, Malulu are just like your butt. It's why you run the Dracotail cards in this deck, because it helps you board break through going through fusion summoning, which can really synergize with the Branded engine. Like, Urgula is a non-target Splatter Trap card pop, and then Malulu is a non-target effect negate on a monster on the board. It's just so broken in that respect, in my opinion, because your opponent has to respond since it doesn't target. So I would still be running these even post the Prixel, but yeah, no, I think you can cut the Lucius once the Prixel comes out. And I know some people are like, I think pure Branded Despia is better, and I think, once again, I think pure Branded Despia is very good, but I think this version just has way better board breaking capability. It also has arguably a better grind game because of the Dracotail cards being very grindy. Like, you just spin back the cards and always have them in rotation. So I do really like the cards, and it makes board breaking really nice because you can just board break through engine. And now that Branded Fusion's at 2, and you have the Prixel, now you should always be basically sending the Prixel off of the Branded Fusion if you have another way to another monster notation, but we'll show you guys with the combos coming up. And then for the rest of the Dracotail cards, we are running the Dracotail Flame plus 3 Rahu, 1 Ketu, just for the rest of the Dracotail cards. We aren't running the Horn because I think that Flame is generally the better one, and Horn doesn't really save you a lot of the time, and this is still just a great card to layer on your Branded end board. A lot of the time you were losing to Called By or just some random, like, it's really good in the Dracotail matchup, and Dracotail's projected to be like the best deck, if not the second best deck, so having that option is very important in my opinion. In Ketu at 1, I was on 3, but now that we have 2 Branded Fusion, and I'm just choosing to run some more board break, or just a different composition. I'm right now running the 1 Ketu, but you could certainly run the 2 Ketu. You would just have to adjust the ratios. I'm just choosing to lean a bit harder into the Branded Despia stuff. So, speaking of which, 2 Branded Fusion, because it just went to 2 on the ban list. Shout to Konami. I very much do appreciate that, because it just helps the quality of life of Branded now. Like, if you get DD Crowed on your Branded Fusion graveyard when you're bringing back to hand with Retribution. Like, it's just so much better now that, because you always have one in rotation. Then for the Crackback, you always have Crackback now because you can go Branded Fusion, send, or you can, like, off of Albion, off of Mirror Jade, when you're trying to crack your opponent's board, you can always search for a Branded Fusion. So I do think it's very solid in that regard. I'm very happy. It helps board break, and once again, just last card Branded Fusion is so crazy when your opponent doesn't know you have Branded Fusion. So I do think this card is going to change a lot. The fact that it's at 2, it's going to make Branded a lot more viable, and I hope if they bring it back to 3 next ban list, that would be very nice. I do think we still have one more Branded card to be announced in the new structure deck, so hopefully that card does a lot for our deck. So we'll see. I trust in Konami to actually do something pretty solid, so we'll see if I end up being right on that. One Branded Lost, one Branded in Red, one Branded in White, and then one Branded Retribution for the one-ofs. I'm choosing to run the Branded in White, even though I'm on one Albaz, because I'm on the 3 Shrouded, so I'm always going to be able to use this card no matter what. And then also, it's just a great board breaker. It's a great way to grind game as well, so, I am running the lock, but my lock boards are always layered, so if they out if they out the lock, then I can just, do Rinbrum and, sub for grind game, and this just helps me there. This might be able to be cut now with the 2 Branded Fusion, but I still really like this card. When my play patterns with Branded just go through this card a lot, so, your mileage may vary, but I do think this is still a very solid card in Branded. And this could be a Branded Banishment, for instance, but I think this is just a less bricky card because it's good going first and going second. Branded Loss is still just like your way to break most boards. You can really force the Yummy board with this card, so that's very excellent. And then also, speaking of Yummy, we have 3 High Spirits, which helps you break the Yummy board as well as play through Ash Blossom and things like that and other hand traps. So, why it breaks the Yummy board is because under Herald, you can still send the Titanclad to the graveyard going second, and Titanclad in the end phase summons out Fallen of Albaz, which then can, summon in the end phase and then make Mirror Jade, right? So I think that's a very solid game plan when you're already using your other interruptions on your turn to break the Yummy board, and then you exhaust their whole board, and then at the end, you just have a Mirror Jade to make with the Titanclad, and you still get to search a card off of this, so it's very solid. And then you can also just banish like a Mercurier off of this or something like this. It's under the Herald, so it's very solid. And then just once again, we're still running the kit, and it's a great way to play through Ash Blossom instead of just going Aluber search Branded Fusion. If you have the card advantage to do it, you can always go Aluber search High Spirits when you have a dragon in hand, go High Spirits, pitch the Albaz or whatever, and then pitch the Titanclad, and then you can get into Spriggan's kit, of course, and then you can search out the Branded Fusion, and then if you get Ashed at this point, you still have Titanclad to, summon Quem, get Cartesia, or, if you sent Albion because your opponent has Ashe for whatever reason, you can send this, and then, especially when you have Albaz in rotation, then you can get Branded in red instead of the Titanclad, which is even better because I set that Albaz, so it just can connect itself. So it's very solid in that regard. For sure, and I'm a big fan of Branded Red still, even though we aren't running the most targets. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of this lineup, especially with the 2 Branded Fusion guys. Like, once again, I just think the 2 Branded Fusion helps our deck a lot in the grind game, and then just also quality of life and board breaking and going first, and that's why I'm on like a build that's below 50 cards as well, just to open it more often. And then 3 Fusion deployment. This is just to get, obviously, Albaz or Cartesia. The new alt art for this is so crazy. I hope it's in Starlight, but we'll see. 3 Super Poly, and then... So Super Poly, I think, is still the best board breaker, especially into a new format. VSK9 is dead, but there is a new Super Poly target in Doom of Dimensions, like Axon Kicker or something. I don't think we need to run it anymore because I think VS is dead, so that's a good thing, but I still think this cracks the Yummy board. Like, so I'm running the Mud Dragon because I think Mud Dragon's still very good. I'm running Secretarion because these Secretarion off of Super Poly cracks the Dracotail board, and Mud Dragon cracks the Yummy board because then you can just call Dark and then they can't even interact with your cards because all their cards target. So it's a very good way to turn off their surprise off the Super Poly, and then also their field spell, which targets to pop, and then also their like cookie and stuff like that. So this card's just broken against Yummy, and you can make it off of just like fusing off their Herald plus Snatchy or just one of their synchros. So yeah, I still think Super Poly is very excellent, and I'm citing the Garura just for like other decks like Pyramitsu and stuff like that. And this card's just running a 50 card build. If I'm able to see this, I'm just cracking every board every time I see it. I was on Dark Ruler before and Evenly, and like I'm siding those, but I just think this is like a better general matchup spread, especially into a format that we don't think is like that defined yet. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of different decks that could really take that top slot right now. But I still think Yummy is obviously going to be the best deck. That is what you have to prepare for. So, you know, with that in mind, I think Super Poly does enough. We do have like the Thrust package and plus talents, and then a Called By for like board breakers too, because Called By is a board breaker against Yummy. You just banish the Herald, or just one of their names, worst case scenario. And then Thrust is very good for just searching talents for a non-target take to break a board, or hand rip for an Ash or something like that. And then also you get to set the Dracotail Flame from if you get hand trapped, which is still pretty solid. And we can side, or we can set the fusion dupe going second, or sorry, games 2 and 3, because I am choosing to not main it in this build just so I cut down my traps, right? I just want to have hyper consistency with this build, so I'm not running the fusion dupe in this in the main deck, but we are siding it. And then obviously Foolish Gold Sark, because they're one card starters in this deck. You get to send Tragedy or banish Mercurier. And then you just get to Branded Fusion, which gets you to your Dracotail and Branded Engine now. So these cards are just excellent. And there's less Droll too. So because in theory, right, because Mitsurugi Ryzeal isn't just crazy. There's a bunch of decks that are like 40, 50 card piles just searching through 4 different engines to get their whole board anymore. I think Droll's value goes a lot down because of that. All right, let's go into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we are running 1 Mirror Jade because we're on the Dracotail build. It's just kind of hard to justify the 2 Mirror Jade in the Dracotail build. I would love to run 2 Mirror Jade, but I run my grind game pretty tight, so I don't really ever need it unless I'm playing really sloppy. And then 2 Albion the Branded Dragon, plus 1 Lubellion for the Fusion Dragons. 1 Sanctifier, 1 Renbrum. Sanctifier's the GOAT, honestly. This card's so broken. Can't be targeted. You guys know it. It probably should be banned at some point, but I do think it's just absolutely broken. And then remember, guys, always layer your end board with Renbrum in the graveyard off of Mirror Jade on your opponent's turn, plus an Albaz in rotation, and that's how you have a properly layered branded end board. And then 1 Grignol, like I mentioned before, I am locking, but I'm not, my board doesn't depend on the lock, so I only need the 1 in my opinion, and then I can summon out the Quertus off of it, or I could just use this as a Super Poly target to dodge Imperm on the Aluber, which is very solid in my opinion. I think you have to run the Quertus when you run Super Poly plus Aluber in your deck, so. And then we could run the Proskenion, but I just don't have enough room. 1 Chaos Star Source. And I think it also gets worse with the ban list. And then for the generics, 1 Chaos Star Source, 1 Borreload, and 1 Mud Dragon. I think these are just enough because I can always make the Borreload first, and then I can make the Chaos Star Source with the Borreload if I need to, with how my end boards work. So I can always cycle through like Mirror Jade twice, Borreload plus Chaos Star Source plus Mercurier plus the lock, which is just an insane amount of interruptions on top of Renbrum and on top of Dracotail Flame and Cartesia Quem and stuff like that. So I would love to run a Stapelia, right? Like I would love to have extra cards, but I think that Mud Dragon is pretty necessary. You don't need it. And I think if you're running the pure branded Despia version, kind of like Am did, you could run like Stapelia and like Proskenion, and then you probably don't even need to run the Mud Dragon. But the Dracotail build, we're running Altharion and Gulamel, so it really does take up the slots. Also 1 Titanclad. I completely forgot about the other branded fusion. We're definitely running Titanclad, but yeah, I think Mud Dragon's the best Super Poly to target this format, and then also I still think Gulamel is very much worth it to run with how I'm running this build. I think it comes up a lot because sometimes you are just running Dracotail cards on top of like some branded cards, so I think the Gulamel comes up a lot in this situation. Also, just like it feels like Ketu's useless at that point, or like Rahu's useless at that point sometimes if you only run the 1 in my opinion. So I like running the 2. And then 1 Secretarion Dragon, like I said, it's a very good Super Poly target, and it's just a good card to make in the Dracotail mirror match. And then also it's a way to spin back your dragons, which is very important in a build with like one Chaos Star Source, one Borreload, and one Mirror Jade as your only forms of removal in your extra deck besides, I guess, Altharion and Gulamel. But, you know, for that reason, Secretarion is kind of necessary as either this or Alba Laneda. So I could go Alba Laneda, spin back all my dragons, but this is just a bit better in my opinion because it's a very good Super Poly target when I'm already running Super Poly. And then also, it's a very good card to just make have a a monster that can be made with a dragon and a spellcaster. It's very necessary in a build like this because sometimes you'll just have a board of Gulamel Altharion plus 5 mana, and then you just need the you need either this or Mysterion, like we talked about in the deck profile the other day, and then you can fuse these off with 5 mana and then make the Secretarion, and then you can obviously chain the Gulamel at this point before you make the Secretarion to then pop a card. So it's very kind of necessary for that because I don't have any other cards that would work in that situation. Not even Philia Regis works in that situation unless I have another card. And if I have another card, I'm probably doing fine. So I'm not choosing to run the Philia Regis, although I am, like, I only think you really need it with the Trish lines, to be honest. And outside of that, I think it's just a bit of a cute card that isn't great in branded. It's just super resource intensive for the deck that I don't really like it. And then once again, I just think like things like Trishula, you just can't be running in a format like this a lot of the time. I mean, you can, but I don't love it at the moment. Obviously, I featured the combo. I think it's good to know a bridge with branded Dracotail, but yeah. So guys, what did you think of this deck profile? We are going to make a video once again if this video gets 150 likes on the post due to combos of, it is really simple though, because you basically just go like, we'll show an extended combo guide, but I'll do this quickly. So like, let's just pretend this is Prixel, right? And we have branded fusion. So Lucius is going to be Prixel, and we're going to have, let's just say Cartesian rotation, Cartesia, Aluber, plus branded fusion, just because this is going to make it pretty easy. We can go obviously, well, actually in this case we would want it to be fusion deployment just so we can special out Cartesia. So we'll just go fusion deployment, summon so yeah, this will be our hand for the combo. So we can go fusion deployment, summon Cartesia by revealing Gwignall, and then we can go normal summon a Luber. Let's just, it can get the branded fusion at this point, but we kind of just want it to be another discard. So then we can, let's just say this is a discard. So then we can search off the branded fusion. And then we can go branded fusion. And then we can send the Albaz plus the Prixel to the graveyard for Albion. And then we can go chain link 1 Albion, chain link 2 Prixel to chain block the Albion. But then also this is very important because then you get to set a Dracotail Splatter Trap. So it really just depends on what you did at this point, because you can obviously, if you did it normal, you can just set Ketu and then do your thing with like Malulu, but we already normaled in this turn, so I think in this point we can just either go Ketu to search Femina, which I don't think is a bad option, honestly, all things considered, or you could set the Dracotail Flame. I'm just going to do Ketu into Femina because I think Femina is a really like strong card to have, so we'll set that, and then we can obviously then just banish the Fallen of Albaz plus the Aluber for the Lubellion, and then we can go Lubellion effect, discarding our 1 discard we need for this combo, and then spin back itself plus the Fallen of Albaz that is now banished, and then make the Mirror Jade, which is always what you typically want to be on. I mean, there's like, once again, you can be doing stuff with like Secretarion Dragon and stuff like that. I just don't think it's like, I think you're doing a bit too much when you're going down lines like that. You should keep it simple when you're playing branded Dracotail. It doesn't need to be too complicated, in my opinion. But then we can go Cartesia to fuse off the Albion in itself. And then we can just basically get into our full combo from there. And also this Ketu should be set, obviously. So we can just like, I guess at this point we should just go Ketu Dracotail then search out the Femina, so it can be either an additional interruption or once again, this could be the Dracotail Flame, or if we just didn't normal, you're going to augment your combo depending on if you're normaled or not. That's why I think like 2 branded fusion helps the Prixel a lot, because like opening this plus no normal is so good with Prixel if you just have like a Cartesia or like like a Shrouded or anything in rotation. She probably will, so we can get the Femina, go Cartesia to fuse. If they imperm us, I go Femina to then fuse, but if not, we'll just keep it as an interruption. And now we can just go full combo, right? We can go into the Grand Guignol, and then we can go Grand Guignol 1 to then send the Titaniclad, and then we can go Chain Link, and then we can just go into the end phase, go Cartesia to hand, then we can go Titaniclad, and then Titaniclad can get the Quem, then we can go Quem effects and the Albaz, and then we can go Albion to then set or add the branded in red, which is very solid. And this is actually where double Guignol can come up. So once again, this is something that you could do because if you want to lock, you need the double Guignol for this line, but because you can also just go like Albion for branded in red once again, and then just like lock from there, which is pretty cool. So it is something I might consider too, just like running the double Guignol now that I even see this coming up, because then you would just go Femina effect, make Sanctifier off a red, and then you can fuse off the Mirror Jade, get the double loop. But, you know, if not here, we can obviously just play a fair Yu-Gi-Oh game here, and then go Mirror Jade, banish, summon the Rinbrum, and then we banish a card, great, and then we can go Rinbrum effect, banish itself to summon Albaz, and then we can go Albaz effect, discard the Cartesia, and then fuse off something on our opponent's board, go Albion effect. This is what I'm talking about with making the Borreload here, because we can then go Borreload, you know, banishing whatever our Titaniclad Albion, and then we can go Borreload to pop, and then we can go Femina effect to then make a Borreload a Chaos Star Source Dragon. And we can obviously just bring back the Borreload with a Sanctifier also, which is pretty sick. So then we can go Star Source, and then we can obviously just do whatever we really want to here. We can do like Cartesia to revive, which then gets us even more. We can go into Secretarion depending on the matchup and stuff like that. But, you know, it would be good to also possibly loop the Mirror Jade in this instance. But it's just kind of an instance of where you actually almost want to always go Prixel now over Lubellion. But I still think Lubellion's very solid. But I think if you're playing this version, there's no reason not to if you just have like extenders. But like obviously, you know, I still think Lubellion's great. Like on this end board, we didn't get Mercury or anything like that, but is like one of those things that you can still just like definitely get to on in any instance, and this was still a pretty solid end board. All right, guys, if you want to see a extended combo guide on this, and then also my overall thoughts on two-branded fusion, let me know down below. Get this video to 150 likes. Check out my website if you want to help support the channel. Get my playmat, my spreadsheet, and then also click the join button and subscribe. Click the bell if you want to help support the channel. Again, my members-only classroom, which you get all my exclusive deck lists and exclusive members-only content. So yeah, guys, check out the links down below if you want to help support the channel and find out other ways to connect with me. And once again, appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Stay safe. Have a good one. Bye now. Metagames GX signing out. Branded best deck.